that was interesting. Take two. So, hey guys, how are you? I don't know what was going on there, but my screen went yellow and I froze. Hopefully, that won't happen again. We'll find out here shortly. I don't know, but simple enough. Start over, right? How we react to an event determines the outcome. I'm not going to get upset about it. I'm just going to back out, come back in. We'll start over. And that's sort of where I wanted to go. I was talking about a book I just recently read. Matter of fact, I finished it this afternoon. And the book is called, get your notepads out for this one, guys, or rewatch it and get the name again when you get a chance. Also, this is on YouTube, on our channel. So if you wanted that link, I'll put that link in the comments under this in both Healthy You and on my page. So you can see it there anytime you want to access it. I think the YouTube is already there, but anyway, the book is called The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And really fascinating look at how we see things in our lives, particularly how far we've come. And it struck me because a lot of you know about my efforts to reach a certain time when I'm kayaking for a mile out there on the lake. And my goal, I don't know if it's achievable, we're going to find out, is 15 minutes a mile. I am now averaging 16:30. My first time out was like 27 or something. So I've really improved that overall. Remember, 2 stents in my heart, all that. What I'm trying to say is that you may not think you can do something, but you can. I'll go there. And part of that is understanding where you started and how far you've come. Because a lot of times we don't celebrate our wins or we don't acknowledge our wins because we feel like we didn't go far enough. That makes sense? Like you think that you need to be further down the pike than you already are. It's sort of like racing your GPS. If you don't beat your GPS, you're not happy. But sometimes things happen. So your GPS says you're going to get there at 1 o'clock. Like our GPS told us when we were coming down here that it would take 9 hours. It took us 11 hours and 30 minutes to get down here back in December when we came down. Through no fault of our own, we had to stop. We had the dogs. We had all these things that got in the way of being on time with what the GPS said. So that wasn't a setback. That's just the way it was. If that makes sense to you. And when you frame it in the right light, right? So, for instance, it took us 11 hours to get here. We left New Jersey. On the way down, we went through Maryland, Virginia, Washington, right? North Carolina, and then part of South Carolina. Every step of that way is progress. Whether or not it happened in the timeline we wanted it to happen in, we can't control that. But we can control the fact that we know that we made progress. And that's where this book really just like reached in my head and pulled up my brain and said, look, you've come a long way. And that's sort of what I want to talk to you about, because maybe, just maybe, you're sitting there today thinking to yourself, man, my life is not at all where I wanted to be today. But maybe, just maybe, you're further down the road than you thought you were. And you're just not framing what's happened to you the right way. And even if what's happened to you what is something you think is negative, okay, I mean, we all have events in our lives that cause us a lot of pain, a lot of trauma. And I'll use that word trauma because guess what? That's what it really is. It's mental trauma. It's not necessarily physical trauma. I mean, trauma comes in many forms. So when we experience a traumatic event, there's two ways to go. One way is to dwell in the trauma. And usually when that happens, our lives deteriorate very quickly. Some people call it circling the drain. I don't like that phrase. I've used it in the past. I don't use it anymore because guess what? I can brush that circle away. And I have for myself because I thought I was circling the drain, guys. I really did. Or we can frame it as, okay, what positives came from that? So let's take, for instance, a word that over 50% of the people who've been married know. Divorce. For at least one of the parties, and probably both actually, they just don't acknowledge it. It was a traumatic event. When you said your I do's whatever amount of years before you got married, you did not expect to wind up in divorce court. You didn't. So thinking that all of a sudden your life is over, or why is this happening, or did I do something, is totally normal. Totally normal. But at the same time, looking at it and saying, okay, chapter in my life. What can I learn from it? And that's really where the rubber meets the road when it comes to how your future is going to look for you. Because again, if you look at it as this is the end of my life because this person is no longer in it, then it will be. And what fun is that? I mean, I hate to say it that way, but really think about it. Like, I was, 37 or 38 when we got divorced. Somewhere around there. Yeah, 37. My life wasn't over at 37. My ex-wife's life wasn't over at 37. There was a lot more life to live. There was a lot more things to learn. And how we framed it at that moment could have been bad. I know I wasn't happy. But at the same time, I've come to a lot of conclusions about all of that. And you know what? There's the old blame game and all that. But guess what? People live their lives. We all make mistakes. We all contribute to the ultimate outcome. So I don't see it that way anymore. But what I do see is that I moved on from that and never let that be the determining factor in my life. There was a lot more life to live. That being said, I didn't take the best care of myself. We all know that too. But once I realized what I was doing, I corrected it. I continue to correct it. I continue to make corrections. Every day I'm being mindful of what's going on. I'm looking for that lesson that's out there for me. What can I learn from this that happened today? What's the benefit? And in the book, Dan Sullivan talks about when people say, well, this happened. And he would say, well, what's the good side to that? And they go, nothing. He goes, well, wait, if there was a good side to it, well, give me 5 things that might have turned out good from that. And invariably, people will list 5 things that turned out good. I can list 5 things that turned out good from my divorce, truthfully. One, I got to come down here and see my brother and his wife and their family. 2, I met an incredible lady. She's in the other room right now. There's more, right? There's more. My life completely changed. I no longer have to work 9 to 5 or over the weekend in retail or any of that. And maybe that would have never happened if that first relationship had worked out. We don't know. But it has happened. And I see it as a benefit to me. I'm living like, nobody's perfect. Nothing is perfect. But I'm living a better life today than I have in a long time. And I'm 62 years old. Think about that. I've never in my life did I ever get in a kayak and go 5 miles like I did this morning. Well, I did once before, but it took me 2 hours and 23 minutes. Today, it took me an hour and 23. Shaved an entire hour off my 5-mile row in 4 months. Just got my blood work back from the doctor. Everything's good. A1C is a little elevated, but I expected that because I am a diabetic, but I'm not crazy diabetic. It's just a little elevated. It's not like 14, what it used to be. So it's not what happened. And it's not necessarily was it good or bad, because even bad things that happen to us can wind up being the best thing that happened to us. But part of that is how we see it. If you see it as a negative, it will be. If you look at it and say, all right, what can I do from this? What can I learn from this? What can I grow from this? What did I do to get here? And how can I get there from here? And that will liberate you. And that's what we teach people every day. I didn't start out being really good at kayaking. I'm still not the best out there, but I'm growing every time I go out. My speed, sometimes it's a little bit higher, sometimes it's a little bit lower, but it goes down every month, right? It's interesting to watch that curve too, because it's slowing now, which is interesting. Hi, Joan, say hi.
Hi.
And that's the neat part, is that I'm actually seeing the curve slow down, but that's okay, because there is going to be a threshold. Just the same with a runner. There's going to be a threshold for the runner. There's going to be a point where they just can't do it anymore. They can't push any harder. We can push ourselves as hard as we want, but at some point. So that's sort of where I wanted to go tonight. I just want you to know that you guys mean a lot to us. I appreciate you all for watching. Thank you very much. Again, we have this on YouTube. I also have a podcast called Evolution, which is on Apple, and I believe Google. I put it on too. And I share these to there also. So if you want to find me, just look for Evolution, and that should be me. All right, guys, thanks so much. And if you really love this, share it with somebody you love. Talk to you later.